When the Mets signed veteran outfielder Mike Tauchman to a minor league deal with an invitation to Mets spring training last week, manager Carlos Mendoza delivered a scouting report on Tauchman that featured three main attributes, and that's why the Mets wanted to bring him in. First off, he plays all three outfield positions, and he plays them well. He controls the zone offensively, and he has some damage in his left-handed swing. I think it's safe to say in Tauchman's debut in a spring training game here on Tuesday at Clover Park, he wasted no time living up to that reputation, certainly on the offensive side of the ball. Tauchman started in right field for the Mets in today's 6-6 tie with the Astros in Port St. Lucie, and his first swing in a Mets uniform on a 1-0 pitch was a home run out to right field, a 3-run shot. Shortstop Ronnie Mauricio, who's also competing for a spot this spring, also went deep in that first inning. And then in Tauchman's next plate appearance, he worked a 6-pitch walk, including a very close take right at the bottom of the zone that he spit on and was able to take first. That's exactly what you're going to get from Tauchman. And that's the way that I look at Tauchman as he competes for a roster spot with the Mets this spring, is that his floor is higher than any of the other options. Tauchman, you know exactly what you're getting with a player like him. You can either have him on the bench, and you know what you're getting in a pinch hit situation or a late game defensive substitution situation, or in this case, right field is still up for grabs. I know that top prospect Carson Benge has a great shot to win that job this spring. The Mets have been very clear about that, even going back to this past offseason. But Tauchman could be the starting right fielder on opening day. There is certainly an above zero chance that that comes to fruition. When I spoke to Tauchman a couple of days ago in the Mets clubhouse, the sense that I got from him was that he had multiple offers, multiple situations on the table, but the reason why he wanted to pick the Mets was because of the opportunity here, and that the Mets were very honest and straightforward. He reiterated that today after the game when he came out on Tuesday. He reiterated that the Mets were candid with him about this opportunity, that he will, one, get a lot of playing time early and often so that he can catch up on missing the first few days of camp and get ready to, at the very least, show other teams that he is a viable option. You know, if he doesn't make the Mets, maybe he ends up elsewhere this year. But also the fact that he has a legitimate chance to make this team. And again, that could be in either a starting role or a bench role. There are other options for the Mets this spring, right? We've talked about Benge a lot here at NJ.com on our channel, speaking of the Mets on YouTube. But it's also MJ Melendez, Tyrone Taylor, who will in all likelihood be the fourth outfielder for this team. And I'm forgetting one more name, but I had it written down, Brett Baty, who's transitioning into more of a utility role this spring, kind of like a Jeff McNeil-esque. We haven't seen him in a game yet because of a hamstring issue that he had a couple of weeks ago. The Mets are slow playing him and some of the other veterans on this roster, Jorge Polanco, Luis Robert Jr., and Francisco Alvarez, because of past injuries for those three. But Baty, we've seen him working out. We've seen him taking ground balls and some fly balls too, but we haven't seen him in a game. There's a chance that if Benge doesn't make the opening day roster, you could see Baty kind of settle in as more of an everyday right fielder, just at least until Benge is ready. But with Tauchman, he's kind of that prototypical stopgap, right? You have him make the team. Let's say Benge needs a little bit more seasoning and goes up to AAA Syracuse, and you can have Tauchman play until Benge is ready. And then at that point, you can transition him into more of a bench role and a valuable piece for them moving forward. And that's the other note with Tauchman. He recognizes that he's in the later stages of his career. You know, maybe there's even a lockout coming next year. He spoke about all of this today. He wants to play for a championship contender. And I asked him if he thinks that the Mets are a championship contender, and he said simply yes. And that plays a role in his decision to come to Port St. Lucie and, in his case, hopefully go to Flushing later in 2026.